Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is my review of the 2001 science fiction action film, The One. Now, this is one of those films that I think I might have seen like once or twice back in the day. Like it would pop up on television and I might check it out, or at least parts of it. I think I did see this with my dad. I think we rented it on either DVD or VHS because I know my dad was a fan of Jet Li, because I remember watching Unleashed with my dad. So I think the one was also something that we saw at some point, and I remember enjoying it then. And I still can have fun with this movie. Is it kind of dumb? Yes, it is kind of a dumb movie, but it's an entertaining movie, and it's got some good martial arts in it. Now, before I get around to sharing more of my thoughts on the film, though, I want to give a special shout out to Radic for requesting another review. And if there is another film, TV show, or topic that you would like to see me discuss in the future, feel free to donate to either my PayPal or my Patreon or my Cash App. The link to all three is in the video description down below, and I will try to get to your requests as soon as I possibly can. Now, the one is directed by James Wong. Now, James Wong is the same guy who would sadly go on to direct Dragon Ball Evolution. Yeah, it's the same guy. But he also directed Final Destination and Final Destination 3. And he was involved as a writer on episodes of The X-Files. And I think his direction in this is actually pretty good. I really liked the way that he directed this. It was very uh, fun and creative. He used a lot of different camera angles and different kinds of pans and zooms and different perspectives, even a few POV shots here and there. The way that he shot the fight scenes in particular, I thought was fantastic. Really did a good job in terms of emphasizing the various different fight moves, the choreography, the blows, and the other sequences that involved action were also really well shot. The shootouts, the chases. It's a film that, in my opinion, features some of his best direction, really. Like, I think this showed that he could do a martial arts movie, and, Dragon Ball Evolution is a disaster, but I don't even know if I necessarily want to entirely blame him for that because he already showed with this film that he was very capable of directing a film that has a lot of fights in it and some really good fight choreography that deals with characters that have superhuman abilities. And I think that a different director probably wouldn't have had as much fun as James did with this. You could tell that he was just going wild with this movie. He did not care, did not really phase him at all when it comes to the consequences of some of his risks that he's taking as a director, where some people might look at it as being too over the top. He didn't really care about that. And I think it's really to the film's benefit because it's such a over the top silly movie at points that it makes sense that the direction is equally as over the top and equally as comic book style infused as the direction for the one is. Now, the film also features a screenplay written by Glenn Morgan and James Wong, and I like the idea of the multiverse. I think it's a fun concept. I think it's a cool idea. And I think it's executed in a decent way, but it could have been done a lot better. I like the idea of multiverse cops who are trying to track down this criminal who is going around and is killing all these different versions of himself so he can become the one, which is this godlike figure. And so he's gone through like over 100 different universes and killed himself in various different universes, and now there's only one left, and it's a universe of this sheriff named Gabe Law. And Gabriel Law is the former multiverse agent from the Alpha universe, who is the one that is going around doing all these killings and trying to become the one. And I like that idea. I think that's a cool idea, cool concept. But this is one of those scripts where if you think about it for like longer than 5 seconds, there's so many plot holes and there's so many things that are implausible and don't make any sense. And it's not even following its own rules. So it's one of those screenplays where if you could just kind of turn your brain off, then I think there's some fun that you could definitely have with this story. But it takes a lot of suspension of disbelief. Because there's plenty of moments in this where you're like, why did it go that way? Why did they do this? This is dumb. Stuff like that. And in a lot of ways, the story is just a template for tons of action. That's really what it is. It's a template for chases and stunts and fight scenes and gunfights. That's really what the plot is. And it starts out with Yulaw going in and taking out one of the versions of himself from the Anubis universe named Lawless. And he takes him out, and then he winds up getting captured initially by the MVA agents, Evan and Harry, and they're about to send him to this penal colony dimension, this prison dimension, and he has somebody like his girlfriend that's there, and she does something with like a rat, and then it winds up, I think it has a bomb in it. So the distraction enables him to escape, and then he winds up going into the Cheris universe, which is where Gabe Law is. And Gabe Law is there with his wife, TK, and they wind up getting wrapped up in this whole stuff involving Gabriel. And of course, since Gabe and Gabriel look identical, Gabe winds up getting into trouble when Gabriel starts wrecking things. He starts taking people out and attacking police officers and racking up a body count. And he winds up receiving help from Evan, who is now alone because Gabriel wound up killing his partner Harry. And so you have this, in my opinion, a pretty enjoyable buddy dynamic that's established between Evan and Gabe. And there are a lot of different moments in this where you see a lot of shootouts, you see a lot of foot chases, you see a lot of fight scenes, martial arts to showcase Jet Li's talents. And there's a lot of Matrix slow motion type of sequences and effects in this. And I think it works. It definitely is of its time of the 2000s, but I think it works here because of the fact that Gabriel is this uh, superhuman version of himself anyway. So he's got, really enhanced physical abilities. Like he has super strength and super speed and all that other sort of stuff. And when you see him utilize that, it's definitely something that sticks with you. I mean, the whole scene with the police motorcycles where he smashes them, and there's a bunch of other moments involving his character that are quite fantastic to watch, and it all ultimately leads to a showdown between Gabe and Gabriel, and they wind up fighting each other. And the fight is easily, in my opinion, the best part of the film. The fight between these two different versions of Jet Li, and the good Gabe, he winds up winning in the end. He subdues Gabriel, and he and Evan wind up taking him back to the MVA, where then he is sent to the prison colony. And before the final fight, though, there's something that happens with TK that is rather sad, where Gabriel winds up killing Gabe's wife, and that really did a good job providing an extra motivation for Gabe to take down Gabriel. And the writers, they could have just left it there. Okay, his wife is dead now, but instead, when he was sent back to what was supposed to be his original dimension by Evan, but Evan wound up messing with something and sent him back to a different dimension. And in this dimension is another version of Eulaw's, well, no, a vet named Carla. I got confused because Massey is a criminal and Eulaw's girlfriend and lover in the Alpha universe, and she's the one that showed up with the rat with the explosive. But Carla is this veterinarian from this other universe that Evan sent Gabe to, and so Gabe finds a way to reunite with his wife, but in this different universe, and they're going to start over and start their relationship anew. And I really like that. It could have easily just been, nope, the wife is dead. We're not even gonna go any farther than that. And the two writers decided, nah, we're gonna give Gabe a happy ending, which I really appreciated. Now, with what happens with Gabriel, that was pretty silly to me. He goes to the prison planet, or the prison a dimension, and then he winds up getting attacked by all these prisoners, and the camera pans out, and it's like there's hundreds of prisoners that are gonna try to beat his ass and kill him. And I'm like, well, uh wouldn't that like destroy the universe? It's because you established that you can't kill him, because if you kill him, then it could unravel the universe. And I'm just like, that that is silly. But it's a cool looking shot of Jet Li fighting all these guys, but but it doesn't make any sense within the context of the story. And you would think, well, couldn't they find some other way to send him to the prison colony? Maybe keep him under restraints. I don't know, but that's that's definitely one of many things in this script that aren't that well thought out. But if you can get past those things, if you can get past the dumb aspects of the script, the things that don't make any sense, and you can just turn your brain off and get drawn into the story of these different multiverses and these two different versions of Gabe that are facing off against one another, and Evan, the NBA agent, coming along and helping out and doing his thing, and you just watch it for the fights and for the action. I think you can definitely get a fair amount of entertainment out of this, and I think it's a decent enough plot in that regard. But it's not really something 100% unique or original, and there are times where it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and it just turns into a bunch of nonsense. But It could have been a lot worse. There's even some fun dialogue as well between some of the characters. One in particular that cracks me up every time is when Gabriel, when he's sent to the prison dimension, he's saying that I'm nobody's bitch. You know, I'm, I was like, you're my bitch. You're all my bitches. Like, I was like, okay, that's funny. Uh, and I like some of the banter between Evan and Gabe. So yeah, it's I don't think it's as bad of a script as some people make it out to be, but it definitely is a screenplay that has a lot of moments that have serious lapses in logic, so to speak. The cast, I think, is pretty good. I think Jet Li, even though he's not the best actor in the world, I think he's still a really good fit for this movie. And I really liked seeing him play all these different versions of himself, and I think he pulled it off in terms of showing the differences between Gabriel and Gabe and these other different multiverse versions of himself. And I know originally the plan was to cast The Rock as the one. I don't think that would have been a good idea. He wound up picking the Scorpion King instead, and I think that was a better fit for him, especially at this point in time with his career, because he was just kind of starting out. He wasn't ready for a role where he's playing all these different versions of himself or fighting himself. I don't think that really would have worked out. And also wouldn't have been as cool. Like it's so much cooler to see Jet Li fight Jet Li than to see The Rock fight The Rock. You know, a rock versus a rock, like that's boring. That's lame. Like I'd rather see Jet Li fight himself. And you also have Jason Statham, who is in this in a very early role when he still had hair as Evan, the MBA agent. It's really interesting to see Jason in this because this is pre badass Jason. So he's just an everyman guy who does some things that are kind of cool and a little bit badass, but a lot of the time it's Gabe who's saving him or his partner who's saving him. And he really gets his butt kicked by Gabriel in the finale to the point where he's like limping around. So it was definitely interesting to see a more human, a more raw, realistic. Well, I don't know if raw is the right word, but unpolished, realistic Jason Statham role, where he's not playing this larger than life badass like he's been doing in pretty much every film that he's been in for at least a decade, possibly even more. This is pre-transporter Jason Statham, or around the same time, but I think this was shot before. Then you have Delroy Lindo, who plays Harry, his partner, and he did a good job as well. I thought he had some good chemistry with Jason. They were a good pair. Uh, And you have Carla Gugino as TK. She's also not the best actress, but she didn't have a lot of lines, and they worked around it. They were the writers, they worked around it by not giving her a lot of dialogue, and it worked for me. And I did feel that she and Jet had some good chemistry when it comes to the different versions of Gabe who was attached to Gugino when it comes to the different Gabes and their relationship with her. And then you also have like James Morrison who plays Bobby, Gabe's friend and fellow officer, and he was fine. And but the rest of the cast, there isn't really anybody that I would really think is worth mentioning. Maybe Dean Norris, who is well known for doing Breaking Bad and other stuff. He was in this as like a sergeant. You see him early on in the movie. Um, so if you recognize that guy, you'll be like, oh, that's that guy. You know, one of those things. But really, it's Jet Li's movie. Like he's the one that has the most screen time. He's the one that is doing the majority of the work, doing most of everything, and I think it's a really solid starring role for Jet, and I think he really handles the challenge well because it is a challenging role if you think about it because he's playing multiple different versions of himself and then he also has to fight himself and I know that in the fight there is a double so it's not always him that's doing the fighting but he still has to do the stuff where he acts as if he's fighting himself and has to find a way to make that believable and not ruin the illusion. And I think he did a really great job doing that to the point where I didn't necessarily know there was that many doubles. I think there was like maybe a couple shots that was like, okay, that definitely doesn't look like Jet. But a lot of the time, though, I was totally believing the illusion that he really was fighting himself. The film also features some cinematography by Robert McLaughlin that is mediocre. It's all right. It's not magnificent or anything, but it's decent. It's also edited by James Kobolentz, and I think the editing is not what I would call excellent, but it's not a total misfire either. It's just another element of the film that's kind of so-so. The music by Trevor Rabin, though, is amazing. It's awesome. I love this score, especially the main theme. It's like a guitar riff. This is a really epic, genuinely badass score. It really is. I think it's honestly one of my favorite scores from Trevor Rabin. And I like a lot of the songs that they featured on the soundtrack. You know, Disturbed, Down with the Sickness, Bodies by Drowning Pool, and Sinner by Drowning Pool, Godsmack's Awake, Papa Roach's Last Resort, and Blood Brothers. Uh, so that's definitely a major aspect of the film that I think really makes it into something that's of its time, but in my opinion, in a good way, because it gives this the film this like new metal music video kind of vibe at points, and I like a lot of those bands and I like a lot of their songs, so it's just cool to hear those songs with Jet Li kicking ass, and it's a very short film as well. It's only 87 minutes, and that's with the end credits. You take out the end credits, and it's even shorter. It's like, I think, like an hour and 20, maybe an hour and 22 minutes. So it's not something that's really going to be too long, too boring to me. I think I've seen some people argue that it's boring. I'm like, how? Like this movie it starts out with action and then it just doesn't stop until the end of the movie. Like there's just constantly some kind of action sequence happening, like every 5 to 10 minutes. Like it's not really something that takes its time. It it seems like it's always in a mad rush. So I don't really understand how that could be that boring or dull. Maybe if you don't get into the plot, I guess, but I felt it was still something that worked, even though the logic was kind of incomprehensible or dumb at points. I still felt the general idea of this rogue agent, multiverse agent, who is now going through all these multiverses and killing different versions of himself and absorbing all these powers from these other versions of himself through all these different multiverses in this quest to become the one, this god among men, uh, and he has one universe left. And if somebody doesn't stop him, then he'll become the one. I think that is something that works. I think it's something that's consistently compelling because of the stakes, and I think the multiverse angle definitely gives this a different sort of spin and a different sort of vibe to it, in comparison to some of these other films about somebody collecting some kind of artifact or getting all these things and getting all this power, and you got to stop them before a certain amount of time, otherwise they're going to be a god. Like I think that there's enough here that it doesn't feel like it's a total rehash of other ideas to me. And even though there is a lot of Matrix style action sequences, I think there also are some tweaks with it in terms of some of the quick uh, choreography and the stuff where Jet will be doing something really fast and then stop real quick for a little bit and then go back at full speed. That's a little bit different than some of the stuff that you saw in the Matrix, in terms of the way that it handled the slow motion. So I didn't necessarily feel that it was just the same stuff as you saw in the Matrix. There's a little bit of a difference there. And other than some of the dumb stuff with the script, I really can't think of a lot of things that I would have changed or would have wanted any um, different. What that I would have wanted to see done differently with the film, except for maybe an R rating might have helped it a little bit, give it a little bit more of an edge. But other than that, like I don't really have that many issues with it. Like I enjoyed it. I had fun with it. I don't really understand why this is considered to be so terrible. Like, I don't think it's that bad of a movie. I get it if you are just really focused in on the plot and how it contradicts itself at points and how it can be kind of silly and dumb. But what were you expecting out of an action film that has a bunch of multiverses and deals with Jet Li uh, fighting himself? Like, what were you really expecting? I just, I don't really get that. In this kind of movie, you're expecting Jet Li doing a lot of fighting and having a lot of action, and you get that. So you get exactly what you're expecting and exactly what you're looking for. So I think if you're a fan of Jet Li, you're a fan of martial arts, I think there's a lot about the one that I think you can get into and find some enjoyment from. But that's just me personally. Um, and I don't really know what else to say about the one except thanks for watching my review. And as always, I'll see you later. See ya.